Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Monday. Happy Monday to one and to all. Perhaps it is Tuesday, depending upon where you are on the globe. Give yourselves a round of applause for making it to and through another day because, as we know, not everyone is blessed, at least those who are believers, to make that declaration. So live your life to the fullest. That being said, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you to everyone who has been supporting this platform. Those of you who have been engaging, sending emails as it relates to particular stories. I appreciate that and have no problem at all discussing anything you would like to. So continue to reach out. I appreciate it so very much. So today we are going to travel to Georgia, Buchanan, Georgia, as we look at Anthony James Scott. Now, if you thought the case with Sean Grayson, for those of you that have been following the Sonia Massey case, was the deputy sheriff in Sangamon County, who after has had a questionable background, was hired by the department, and we saw the end result. The end result, Sonia Massey losing her life. Unfortunately, it is behavior such as that. It is behavior as to perhaps people that know people. Perhaps it's just turning the blind eye. So again, if you thought the case of Sonia Massey and Sean Grayson raised an eyebrow, this one may just get your goat. AJ Scott, Anthony James Scott, is the mayor, I repeat, is the mayor of Buchanan, Georgia. However, he is facing charges stemming from the time that he was a trooper with the Georgia State Patrol. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. And in my opinion, all of these demons, and yes, I said that because I have freedom of speech, and I am not saying he is a fictional demon, but behavior to me is indicative of an evil person, and I equate evil with demons. They all have this cold, dull look in their eyes and this condescending smirk. Back in, unfortunately, and for those of you that are, again, squeamish or certain stories are upsetting, allow me to present the viewer discretion disclaimer. And again, I try to do this for my audience who find certain stories upsetting because they may have experienced issues such as these And I just want to be sure that if it's a trigger, that they know ahead of time. So back to AJ Scott. AJ Scott is charged with not one, but 2 counts of second-degree homicide by vehicle, as well as 2 counts of serious injury by vehicle. Now, again, I implore you, as always, to conduct your own independent, thorough, meticulous investigation, fact check, to be prudent and responsible. This is from MSN. So again, always check your resources. A violation of oath. Let me repeat that. A violation of oath by a public officer. And to make matters worse, speeding and reckless driving. Again, go back to some of the videos that I have spoken about Sean Grayson. And if you do not want to do that, I'm not going to be upset. You can Google it and research it at your own leisure. Some of the same characteristics, allegedly, and I'm only saying that to be, again, prudent and responsible, were in the files of Sean Grayson. Now, according to reports, prosecutors say that Scott, AJ Scott, was speeding while driving north on US Highway 27 in his patrol car when he slammed. And I'm going to emphasize that because you all need to understand that just because you wear a badge doesn't mean that you're any different than some of these criminals that are out on the street that has caused individuals to summons the National Guard to the nation's capital. Yes, I had to include that. Slammed into a vehicle heading south with 4 people inside. The driver of the vehicle, Dylan Walls, fractured skull, was an injury sustained. Benjamin Finken, also a passenger in that vehicle, suffered a traumatic brain injury. If that isn't heartbreaking enough, the 2 girls in the car, Isabella Chinchilla and Kylie Lindsay, lost their lives in a crash, and they both were under the age of 18. Now, this is where it gets gray and very morose. AJ Scott stood trial for the first time in 2019, May of 2019 to be exact. However, that trial ended in a mistrial because while, according to reports, the jury was deliberating, after defense attorneys found that prosecutors failed to disclose evidence. I find this very ironic because, again, I'm going to refer back to what is going on in Washington, D.C. There have been allegations of numbers being misrepresented or underreported. But here we are, states away in Georgia, and it was found that prosecutors failed to disclose evidence. Think about that. Further, the state failed to tell defense attorneys that one of the investigating troopers had a theory that Lindsay, and again, Kylie Lindsay, was one of the young ladies who lost her life in the crash, had been sitting in the front of the car at the time rather than being in the back seat. Again, that was a theory, and the state failed to disclose to the defense attorneys that that was the theory of one of the investigating troopers. Now, for the defense, the possible change in seating was a significant point at the time of the collision. Walls, who had been turning left, the defense pointed to Lindsay's presence in the front seat as an obstruction to Wall's view, resulting in his failure to yield to Scott's oncoming cruiser. That's a stretch, but again, this is according to reports. Prosecutors maintain that Scott was driving over the posted 55-mile-per-hour speed limit over a hill with limited visibility, leaving him at fault of the unfortunate crash that again claimed the lives of two young ladies under the age of 18. Next, I want you to allow this to sink in. At present, the jury selection is set to begin Monday, today, August the 18th, 2025, in the retrial of former state trooper. Even with those charges, somehow, some way, he was elected the mayor of a small West Georgia city on charges of vehicular homicide. A.J. Scott, mayor, as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, of Buchanan, Georgia, is facing 2 counts of vehicular homicide in the second degree and reckless driving. Those charges and others stem from the September 15th crash, from his time as a trooper, and claim the lives of 2 teenagers, which I just illustrated. So the crash actually occurred in 2015. He faced court in 2019, which subsequently ended as a mistrial. Next, It's reported that Scott was traveling more than 90 miles per hour in a 45-mile-per-hour Carroll County speed zone without, again, this is important, without lights or sirens. He allegedly, and again, to be prudent and responsible, he allegedly broadsided a vehicle that was carrying the four passengers. Two of them, again, Kylie Lindsay and Isabella Chinchilla, passed away in that crash. A.J. Scott was subsequently fired from the Georgia State Patrol. However, he was elected to be mayor mayor of Buchanan. Now, if that isn't enough, there's an article that says the mayor, and it's in quote, acted like a fool during a drunken episode while a criminal case is going on. It is being alleged. And again, I implore you to do your research that an outside investigation, and we're looking into Buchanan, Georgia, confirmed that Mayor A.J. Scott abused his authority by repeatedly demanding police give him rides because he was too drunk to drive. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what it is about some officers, not all, but while some particular officers find it that they are above the law, they can break the law and they face no consequences. But not this time. Not this time. It is my hope, it is my prayer that justice will be served with all four of the victims, those that remain with us and those who are no longer with us. And let this be a lesson to all of you officers and other people who take the oath to protect and serve. Take that oath and uphold your duties and responsibilities in which those oaths call for. This is unacceptable, but what most shocking and unacceptable is the fact that there are people, again, who overlook the fact, or maybe they didn't know. It's hard for me to believe that because I would think anytime there's an election that you would take some time to look in the background to see if there's anything shaky, to see if there's anything checkered before you check off that box to elect someone in. Maybe it's because it's a small West town in Georgia. I can't say because I am not in the minds of those voters. But hopefully, this will shed light onto those individuals who are there to serve and protect, that they may not have the qualifications that they may themselves have committed those very things that others have been arrested on, which brings me to my last point. How do we know that some of these individuals in the National Guard that have been deployed here on the streets of Washington, D.C., that they don't have a checkered background? How do we know that during their tenure here, if anything, any arrests or any type of fisticuffs were to occur, that some of these individuals might be a little bit shady? We never know. Do we even know if they are authentic members of the National Guard? There's more I could say, and I will, but in another video. Your thoughts on A.J. Scott, fired ex-Georgia trooper who slammed into a vehicle carrying 4 young people, was facing trial a second time. However, in the interim, found himself elected as a mayor. It's getting to the point where a lot of these stories are becoming very numbing, because justice seems as though, and it isn't, but it seems sometimes that it's falling away to the wayside, where the adversary, these demons, these individuals who actually break the law, but sit in positions of those who are supposed to be enforcing law and order. Somewhere seems like a huge oxymoron to me. But again, these are just my opinions. Again, thank you to everyone who has listened and those who may catch the replay. If you like this video and any other videos you may find in my video bucket, please let me know by giving it a big thumbs up. And if you're new and you're just perusing, consider subscribing. I'd really appreciate that. Until next video, bye-bye for now.